And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GMAT Club's YouTube Debriefs. Man, it feels good to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. My name is Evan, for those of you who don't know me by that name, and I'll be very, very disappointed, borderline heartbroken if you don't. My form name is Nightblade354. Today, we have an alumni of this program. David came on my show, what was it, 3 years ago, 2019?
No, it was a year and a half maximum.
Well, it
Maybe.
shows what I know about time periods. Let's call it 2021. So he came on a year and a half ago to discuss his amazing GMAT journey, where he got a 770 on his first attempt, which for those of you who, again, are watching this for the first time don't know, is in the 99th percentile and is truly an amazing score. So with that, we thought we'd invite him back at a certain point to hear about his amazing success, because clearly he was going to have it. And turns out we were right. He ended up at Stanford GSB, which is one of the top 2, if not one of the top 3 business schools in the world.
Top
And
one.
we are here. I'm sorry.
It's top one.
Top 1. Spoken like someone who wants to represent his school proudly. So we have invited him back to hear his story, not only the application process, which we really didn't touch on last time, but also to hear about his life on campus. Now, this is going to be a shorter video than most. For those of you who are watching my programming consistently, you know that my videos tend to be an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours in some cases. We're going to try and more or less keep this to 40 minutes at most, maybe 45 on the high end. So stay tuned. But David, for those of you, for those of our viewers who don't know you, can you give a quick intro about who you are and just say hi to everybody?
Hi guys. Thanks Evan for inviting me to this live stream again. We had the first stream, as you mentioned, about a year and a half ago about my GMAT score. I'm from Georgia, Republic of Georgia, and I applied to top business schools, let's say, after our previous stream, and I secured some admissions also. I have a background in finance, in entrepreneurship, and also my application revolved around these topics. And I'll be very happy to give some advice to people who are also like aspiring to go through this process.
And we're happy to have you back. A few quick things before we dive into all the fun questions I have for David. And again, none of them are hopefully trick questions. The first is that GMAT Club is doing its annual, much anticipated MBA fair. And what does that mean? It means we invite all these top schools, see below. So HBS, Stanford, ISB, and 30 others. Apparently, we didn't want to name them all. We have them come on. We have YouTube videos. We do Zooms. It is highly encouraged that you sign up. As you can see, there are only 100 spots per session. And by the way, I mean, we've had sessions in the past where we've had 400 or 500 in some of these videos and some of these Zooms. So I don't think we're doing that this time around. So sign up ahead of time, because we really want you guys to engage with these schools. It gives you an opportunity to do it one-on-one, and hopefully allows you to maybe get a more personal relationship, not my relationship with them, but a more personal relationship than normally you would have. So please sign up. I am also going to put out some banners. Let's laugh at these for a minute. So like this video, your GMAT score will go up 20 points. That is not legally binding in any way, shape, or form. Want to boost your score? Like this video. Again, not legally binding in any way, shape, or form. Please hit like and subscribe to help others find this video. We really appreciate it. That is true. I will admit that. Hit the like button and GMAT won't hit you. Nope. Again, not legally binding. I can't abide by that. As you see, I did not write these, so I'm not the one who's going to be on the hook for these very, very interesting comments. The spotlight meant to mention is coming up next week. It's the 18th and the 19th, so it's in 3 days. So please do sign up. We are going to have over 1,000 application fee waivers. How fun is that? You don't even have to pay to apply to these schools. David applied to quite a few, and I know some of our former colleagues who have worked with here at GMAT Club on the back end applied to 10, 15, 20 schools, and they spent $3,000 to $4,000. How fun would it be for you not to pay? And last but not least, the MBA Spotlight Fair, as I already said, occurs on October 20th. You can win over $150,000 in prizes. Why not sign up? Better than listening to me. So with that said, and yes, Juhi, good to see you. I can't tell if that's for me or for David. Let's assume it's for David because he's the Stanford graduate and he's the one who's going to have amazing things in his life, where me, probably not so much. Whew, I am rambling here. David, let's recap for all of our viewers who are watching this for the first time, your 99th percentile run. Can you describe in maybe like a 2, 3, 5-minute spiel what you did, how you overcame, and how you got your score?
Okay, so my
And it was a
main
while ago, so
yeah, I remember the main points that I wanted our viewers to take from the stream. So I had a very limited time for GMAT prep, and I focused for the verbal part mostly on the official questions. And I want to highlight that thing, that people to restrict their practice to verbal things to only official questions. And regarding the quantitative, they can use other materials which are more challenging to them. Also, I gave advice to use all of the official packages that the MBA.com sells. They again include paper tests and other materials apart from the textbook, which is for this year. And also, very good tool, GMAT Club also has the database of these questions, the older questions, let's say from early 2000s, because some of these questions are retiring, but they are still really great research to practice, especially when you run out of verbal ones. Also, my advice was not to get discouraged by all the comments that say that a real exam is much harder, especially the quantitative part. That really freaked me out for some time, but once I took the exam, it's more or less the same. So yeah, that was my main takeaways. Again, for the verbal, always focus on the official questions, practice the official exams, understand also follow the GMAT Ninja advice, especially in sentence correction. Sentence correction was the only weak spot that I had because naturally I'm not a native speaker. My English skills are not that good. Even when I ordered, for example, the advanced score report, or enhanced what it's called, the only mistakes that I made was in the sentence correction session, in verbal part section, because yeah, again, like my English skills are not that good. And GMAT Ninja really helps. So many international people who also find sentence correction challenging. It has some idioms, it has many grammar structures that might be challenging for people who are not naturally accustomed to speaking English or writing. Focus on that part too. But that was my main takeaways, as I remember. Maybe I'm missing something, so feel
no,
free
I
to
think
rewatch our
I rewatched bits and pieces over the last week, and one thing that stood out was again your affection for GMAT Ninja, who is probably the foremost knowledge of the GMAT and of the standardized tests in this area. So for folks who are maybe struggling, he's a very good resource, not only on the forum, but through his tutoring services. I will say that in the video, you did not really shout or give me a shout out for my verbal skills and my practical knowledge, but no, it is what it is. I'm not going to be petty about it. I wasn't then, I won't be now. But to your point, you did sum it up really well. And for those of you who are wanting more and want to figure out how we got 770 on the first go round, watch that video. I can post it at some point, maybe later in this clip, although I think it's embedded in the description. So let's now move forward in our process. You've gotten to 770, which is, again, an elite score, something that very few get. What was the first thing you did in terms of deciding to apply to schools? Was it looking at, a 770, you can apply to any school, but were you looking at culture? Were you looking at job placement? Were you looking at location? Did you want to be on the East Coast versus the West Coast? What was that thing you did once you had your score in your hand?
well, I had probably list of schools that I want to apply even before my GMAT score. So I got it was the first try 770. So if I didn't get a good score, I would go for other tries until I reached my desired score. But I got it in the first try. I had several schools in my mind regarding Stanford, particularly. It's a even longer story because during my undergraduate studies back in Georgia, I created with my a friend there the first ever entrepreneurship club in our university. It was based on Y Combinator course, and so my affiliation somehow or affection to Stanford is very, very deeply rooted back in my student years, undergraduate years, and also Stanford, the age of the entrepreneurial age that Stanford had. It makes it really stand out from other top business schools. So Stanford was not like it was very, very easy to decide to, and also I would say that again, like 70% of total prep time of college applications I spend on the Stanford application, because again Stanford has the highest among top schools, probably, if I'm not mistaken, as long as I remember. The number of essays that Stanford has optional in the main essays is the largest. So, and again, my focus was Stanford, and it was the first application that I started working on, and most of my energy also was spent on the Stanford application. Um, the other schools are also like the top three schools, let's say, was an easy choice, HBS and Wharton also. Then I also started several applications, but I then understood that it takes so much time and energy to complete everything on top level. Then even in the second rounds, if you have interviews, too many interviews, and I would really advise people to limit their choice from, at least from my perspective, to maximum, let's say, 5 universities, because that way you'll have more time for individual universities. You will not copy paste the essays or just edit them. You'll be able to put time in there to understanding their what they want to you to write in terms of like the structurally, or to really understand the question deeply. And yeah, that would be my advice.
Okay, so let's take a step back for a second. You said five would be the max. How many did you apply to in total?
I also applied to five, but
Okay.
then the next levels, some of the universities asked me, for example, to add some video on it, and I didn't finalize. I didn't put my effort. Yeah. So yeah. So
So
I
we applied. Yeah, you applied to five. I assume it was all round one.
No, I was wrong too, and that's a big mistake.
Ooh.
That's a bit. I wanted to talk also and underline that never to repeat my mistake. So because I had so much going on, full time employment, my startup, and lots of things, I delayed this until I had very, very limited time left. I think the title of this video says 6 months, but in effect, I can swear that it was like the real work that I put in. It was 1.5 months, maybe 2 months in the application process.
Ooh.
So it was really accelerated. Yeah, from the end of November to the first days of January. So yeah, more than 1 month it was, but it was before I opened the applications. I had understanding. I talked with my recommenders. I had general outlines, and I knew the essay requirements. But what it really means to put the real effort, like 99% of the whole work was done in, let's say, a month and 2 weeks or something like that. In generally, I would say if I more evenly divided, it would be 2 3 months. Yeah, and I would say most top business schools tell you that there is no material difference between round one and round two. They
Oh
maybe,
no. I mean, if
yeah,
any business school tells you that, they are lying through their teeth.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So
oh, that
like,
is so false.
yeah, so I would advise people to not to repeat my mistake, to still apply to round one. You will save your nerves. You'll have better chances for admission, for scholarships, probably. And yeah, like if you have time, if you have opportunity, and if you are not as like overwhelmed by projects and work, as I was at that time, then I would really advise you to go for round one.
Which again makes a lot of sense, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Round one is critical, and here I'm actually gonna change my background. Let's see how this works. Oh, that sucks. All right, I'll mess around with this later. So round one is critical. I will fully admit that. Tell me why you started with Stanford. Why didn't you start with something a little more? Why didn't you start with one that you weren't necessarily that concerned about? Why was it that you decided to go with your number one choice, which was Stanford, and not one of the more safe choices?
Well, I yeah. Also, the just for to mention that Stanford's admission rates are the lowest among top schools, top business schools. Its admission rate is lower than HBS or other business schools. So it was the hardest one, and I chose it because it was the hardest one. It was my priority. So. Probably, if I didn't get to my, let's say, top three choices, I would be disappointed. I don't. I might even didn't take opportunity of other admission of other business schools. So I really wanted to go to the best school. And
Mm-hmm.
again, Stanford was in my mind for years and years because of again Silicon Valley, because of all of the thing, the number one business school for MBA graduate business school, lowest admission rates, the people more entrepreneurial age over other schools. And I think like it's just my I don't know like how my mind works. If I have a top one priority and on top of that I know it's the hardest, naturally I go for it at first. Like it doesn't make a sense for me to work on other like let's say quote unquote easier apps and then like return for residual time and do the Stanford. So and again I also knew that when I overview the applications, I opened every application almost in one day. I mean the register and I had the overview, and I knew that the Stanford was the most demanding in terms of writing.
Mm-hmm.
It has the good story is that it has word limits. When universities do not have word count limit, it's kind of it even makes things harder. They have word count limit, but they have many essays. And also one advice: you want to use every option or every optional essay and write and express yourself. You do not want to not take advantage of opportunity of have to write like optional ones, supplemental letters. You should again use very diligently, not just for the sake of writing anything. Do not bother admission staff; they are working too much. Like but like put effort and write each optional thing later whatever. And again, so these things at first Stanford was my priority. Second thing, it was the hardest. Third thing, objectively it has the most writing to do, and also it's a very good base for other writings probably because so many questions and you explore yourself from so many sides and you do the introspection and everything, and that maybe later will help you in other process also.
Well, so let me clarify that a little bit in that from my personal experience, and again, I'm not a consultant, by the way. So anyone asking things about that maybe a consultant could answer, David and I are the wrong people. We're neither of us are really consultants. He's a student. I work for GMAT Club, but as you can see from the title, that's more or less like a nonsensical role at best. I whip our moderators into shape. That's pretty much it. And do these videos. But from my experience speaking with a lot of students, I know a lot of them feel that their essays improve as they go along, where they'll maybe save the school they want most. So in your case, Stanford, for maybe the second or the third, because on their first iteration, they say, you know what, this is good, but still finding out who I am. And then the second or third one is really when you round out those edges and you say, oh, I'm hitting my stride. This is who I am. You decide not to go that route. Do you feel that potentially impacted your essays, or do you feel that you killed it no matter what?
No, I wouldn't change anything, especially when I had a limited time left. If you have limited time left already around, let's say already around two, I have a little over than a month left. I have my priority. I want to get into this school very, very much. So I would not start like writing some other essays and then maybe in the last week take care of this. That's not how my mind works. That's I would not even feel like comfortable even in the process of working on other universities when I know that more important thing for me personally is like to decide and yeah, I'm not working on that. My mind works. I feel more comfortable when I know for myself that I'm doing the thing that I should be doing, the like it's the most important thing, let's say, the highest priority thing. So maybe it's my personal psychological thing. Maybe other people are very good at being calm and strategically knowing that, oh, it's actually good for the process, better for the process. I will go back to this thing later, maybe. But how my mind works, I feel it very, very hard for me personally to relax
Mm.
and focus on something else when I know that my top one priority thing is just set aside. And that's I cannot operate. It will be even very hard for me to be very productive for other things, for other universities, let's say. So again, it's very personal thing. If someone has the same, I don't know, preference or whatever, psychological inclination, maybe they will also find the same thing more comfortable for them. But yeah, that's my input.
Okay, that does make sense. I will fully admit this process is unique to everybody, and I guess in that line of thinking, different people have different approaches to how they handle the applications. So take what I said with a grain of salt, take David's with a grain of salt as well, and understand that maybe you might fall somewhere in the middle. Let me ask: did you use a consultant or a consulting firm to help you?
I used consultants to revise my essays. For the most part, I did all the process by myself. And also, I would say I would want to highlight the importance of talking with alumni. So when I say I use consultants, they were my consultants for most of the part, and they helped me so much. They will be because let's say general consultants, they are focusing on many schools. They are brilliant ones. Their input was also very valuable for me. I asked for advice. It was not a like full package for me, but for some advice, strategic advice, let's say, and they were really helpful. But particularly if you find alumni for that school who has gone through the process,
Mm-hmm.
their input will be also very well valuable. Some might argue that, oh, that person has his own story or her own story, so that might not be as valuable for you because they have their own positioning that only worked for them. But trust me, find several people from that school. Probably it's even better if you find from your own country or closer to your background
Mm-hmm.
and speak with them, and they are mostly helpful, because not mostly, like exclusively. I've never had a bad experience. I've never approached anyone who like turned down my request for help, or some who didn't answer my questions. They all are very brilliant people. I also knew personally some people because they were from my country, from my undergraduate institution. They were extra diligent in the process, but mostly they are very helpful. And use this thing, and do not ask like general questions. Also, like, I don't know, if you can Google something, do not bother these people asking them. Like, you do not ask like, oh, how many essays do the Stanford have? Like, open the application, see yourself. Like, ask more in-depth questions. Like, do not bother uh, with such generalistic questions, or like, oh, when should I send it? Like, ask very in-depth question. They have this experience. Probably if you find people who are MBA twos or who graduated recently, they have this process fresh in their memory, and they will be even like a better position than if you ask someone who graduated 20 years ago. Again, use the consulting thing. I opted for hourly. Like, you can opt for different packages on hourly thing or not hourly. I already had most of the things done. And then I had some people to just go through it and give me some tips, feedbacks, change it, change that. But for most part, it's your job to do that. You should like open the questions, you should think about it, and you should write and draft it, and then get many opinions from many different people. Alumni, maybe you find some consultant, ask them what would you change in from a large picture perspective, positioning, what things would you write more about, for example, your academics. Maybe many people told me that I focus too much on my academics and I just toned it down, and I got the feedback. And if you ask the 10 people, alumni or consultants or whoever, and from 8 of them you get a constant feedback that yeah, you write too much, let's say, about your extracurriculums, and you should write more about your career. And probably they are right. So get many data points from qualified people and then work on that, and never be all. And also for a person whose mind works as mine, and I'm like her perfectionist problems, tendencies. And when many people give you feedback, they will not, of course, be consistent. Even advisors, consultants will not be consistent in their feedback when it comes to very granular,
Mm-hmm.
not like overall picture that round one is better than round two. Everybody will tell you that. But and then you might like spend hours and hours of thinking, oh, maybe I should do that, maybe I should do that. Like ask many people, let's say 10 people, get 10 opinions about one thing that you want to decide, and then trust the majority. That's the shortcut. Because if you like, if you just go very, very deeply with one person and then the other, then you finish the work and ask other to, oh, can you have a look what you, and they might say a total different thing, and you'll be frustrated. Oh, should I rewrite everything right now? What should I do? So yeah, like do it yourself at first. Most of the work, draft it yourself, write it yourself, um, because nobody knows your story and your best points to highlight than consultant. Like how many hours or consultant or an alumni should spend on your case, on your life, to know everything as good as you know. Probably like, I don't know, hundreds of hours, and still they will not be as close as you are to yourself, obviously. So draft everything yourself, and then have several opinions on that. Decide with a majority vote. Decide which one to take into consideration. Edit, then ask for round two advice, round three advice, and in the end, you'll have much better thing than if you just went by your only yourself, or by only um, following one advice, or advice from one person.
So a lot to recap there and a lot to unpack, but I think the gist of it is get multiple opinions. Consultants can be helpful if you're using them appropriately. Don't rely on them to write your essays, because you need to do enough introspection and self-reflection to make sure that you know yourself and you're putting your best foot forward. Not to put words in your mouth, but I think that was the gist of it. And for those of you who are watching and you're probably rolling your eyes at a certain point and saying, this is just a show for consulting firms, I will say this show is completely agenda free. Neither David over here, nor myself. Again, I always get confused on the camera because it's reversed and it's flipped and it's mirrored, but then it isn't, blah, blah, blah. Neither of us are being compensated to say anything that is meant to prop a company up or meant to be an endorsement. I'm here as a representative of GMAT Club, and yes, although we have sponsors, I'll bash sponsors. I don't care. I'm beholden to nobody. That's why people hopefully watch this show. That and for my charming personality. David is not being compensated either. He's here to give an honest take. So if anyone's sitting there rolling their eyes, please know this is completely 100% above board, and I hope that does come across. This is meant to be purely educational, nothing more, nothing less. So that was a really good recap, or at least summation of the consulting experience. David, tell me, what was the hardest part for you? Was it the essay writing? Was it the prepping for interviews? Was it then the waiting, knowing, okay, I've done my essays, I've interviewed, I've done everything I can, I just need to sit here and twiddle my thumbs? What was that like?
So at first, the writing process, I found it really challenging all my life. Again, maybe for my perfectionist tendencies, and it never ends. You can always improve, and especially when you're getting feedback. And 10, you ask 10 people, they will still there will be small differences, and there it's never ends. Like you can always perfect your essay. So from a psychological perspective, it's the most challenging for me. I find it very challenging. I do not know, because you do not have an objective measure how you can know are you progressing or not, or is it good enough or not. In GMAT, you have objective measure. It's the test score. Like you write, that's true or not. Here, you didn't have, and nobody can also claim to give you exact answer how good your essay is. And that's most challenging because the lack of objective feedback in terms of where are you, like how strong your essay is, and that's psychologically most taxing. Regarding interviews, um against also very traditional advice to like write all the possible questions, like study like that's cool, what questions do they ask and what kind. I didn't do any of that. So again, that's my
Uh-oh.
thing. I'm performing much worse when I have a like script in my mind, and I try to like, I just knew like what kind of answers do they ask, the behavioral interviews or whatever, panel interviews or individual ones. I knew more or less. I just read the questions, and in my mind I just imagined if tomorrow this person asked me that question, in my mind I just answered. Just in your mind, that would be my advice for people who operate as me, to answer inside your mind. Do not write word by word script and then just like know it by heart, because you will miss one word and then you'll just like collapse in the during interview, and also interviewer will notice that you are finding some words and sentences in your mind that you know in advance, and that doesn't work for me. If it works for you, then fine. So interview process was no be, not as challenging as writing process. The challenging part is that that is the last point, decision making point, and it's very also um, very subjective. It's a personal thing. Maybe your interviewer has a. They are all very professionals, of course, but we cannot exclude the human factor there. Maybe I don't know. You remind him or her of some bad neighbor, or I don't know. Maybe they have a bad day. You never know. So that's personal. The thing that that your admission is dependent on personal connection for several minutes. It's kind of bothering. But yeah, it wasn't as challenging as I say writing process. The wait process is also a bit challenging, but you should try to be preoccupied with other things. And Stanford has also very interesting and unique tradition that they call you before the admissions are posted
Hmm.
through portal or on email. So they have the official date when they announce round one, right, round two, round three decisions. But you know that if they didn't call you, then you're basically done. And
Michigan
so
does the exact same thing, and it bothers a lot of students who are sitting there saying, wait, but the date's tomorrow. If I don't get the call, I know I'm waitlisted or rejected, but I know I'm not accepted. So that tends to bother students.
yeah, and also I was on a work trip outside of Georgia at that time, and I knew in advance that my roaming, my cell phone or whatever, like a provider, they had problems from the calls from the USA. So, and I knew like every other call from European continent, from Asia, every other call went through, but from the US specifically, my phone had problems of getting these calls. And I knew this advance, and I'm in this situation that I'm in a foreign country, and my mobile phone is like Georgian mobile phone, and the roaming has problem from the US calls. And the same thing happens. I just open my email, and I have an email that, oh, we tried to reach you by phone and there's some problem. Can you jump on a Zoom call? And I knew that it was that, like that. They only call you if there is a good news. Like they will not call you and try to call you for the bad news. Like
And how'd you feel in that moment?
that's just the, I mean, great feeling. Probably the endorphin peak for months, if not years. And for that moment, it was the great thing, because again, I was round two. Um, from Georgia, they had one admit from round one, and Georgia is a very small country, about 3.5 million population, same undergraduate university. So you always think, oh, maybe in this year we are already overrepresented because we are a small country. They didn't want other person from the same country, from the same undergraduate institution. They will give chance to other people. And the round one, I'm round two, and you do not know, and you are expecting call, and you open the email, and you get this email, and and it's also, you don't know for 100% until you like send it the officially, but some good news are there, and it was a really great feeling. Yeah, it was
I
great.
can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine, just that, you wanted to shout top of your lungs, running around, all no, that pure bliss is probably the best way to probably describe it. So you knew you were going to Stanford immediately. If you don't mind me asking, how did the rest of the how did the rest of the applications turn out? Did Harvard give you a yes? Did Wharton give you a yes? How the rest shake out?
No, I got a yes from Wharton. I didn't get yes from Harvard.
Those
Probably.
losers.
No, I wouldn't call them.
Nah,
Probably, I
HBS
don't
is
know.
full of
There are different
losers.
things. Different things.
Anybody from HBS watching this, you can at me. You have my email address.
Also, from MBA perspective, I was on a younger side. I was 24, and that's also one consideration. That was my disadvantage, being too young for these MBA programs, and around to 24, and that age thing probably played a role in their decision. But yeah, they're lost. I'm joking.
No,
And
no, it is their loss. Doesn't make you feel any better, but it is their loss.
yeah, I got yes from Wharton. I'm very appreciative of that, but I still opted for Stanford, as you see from that fan on my roof.
Well, so
Feeling
you
so.
are currently now at Stanford, by the way. I think you mentioned, but this is Stanford's flagship dorm room for MBA students currently.
Yeah.
Tell us about your MBA experience thus far. Tell us about the living conditions, the expenses that you've incurred, the networking events. What's all this been like?
Well, at first, the campus is really beautiful. I mean, it's at first, heads up, I have no experience with US campuses or educational institutions. I never studied abroad before this point. I've never been to the US. So maybe other campuses are also very nice. But from what I see right here, the campus is very beautiful. Like, you cannot deny the beauty of this everything that's around you in terms of infrastructure, the nature, and everything. So that's the big, and also the weather. Who enjoy sunshine. The networking things are also very active, like networking events all the time. The only thing that you'll face, the only challenge that you face here is that there are so many things going on. You have to prioritize. There are, I don't know, like 10 networking events probably a day, between different schools, within the school, like, I don't know, different programs. There are outside in the Palo Alto also, so you have to really prioritize. If you do not, then you will have a FOMO at first, like you have fear of missing out. You want to attend that event, you want to attend that event. Maybe you also, of course, want to spend time on academics, on networking inside, outside the community, and it's so much going on. It's overwhelming from that sense, and yeah, like you will be very busy here, and you just want to set your priority. And of course, you want to then maybe check after a semester, maybe you want to change something, and many things will change because you'll see opportunities that you didn't see. But again, it's very let's say, packed with different activities. You have to make decisions for yourself. You know yourself better. From an objective perspective in what situations to put yourself in. where you'll be most productive, what you want to achieve, and they give you all the resources, and it's up to you to prioritize. Do not be afraid to say no to some events, because you'll have eventually to say no, because you have 24 hours a day. You want to get proper sleep also, and yeah, that's it.
Well, so let me ask, what are you prioritizing?
Well, I'm prioritizing mostly for the first semester, researching some of the things that I'm interesting. I'll getting to know people who are also interested in entrepreneurship. So even if I'm like considering, let's say, networking, even I'm more like a sniper type. Let's say I don't try to get to know to 1,000 people, to everyone, to say like very surface level things and to know them. I just try to get to know to people on a deeper level, who have like most match to my goals and are interesting to me, and we can provide value for each other in terms of our accomplishments or our knowledge. We can share, we can have a synergy effect. So, and I of course dedicate some time to academics, and yeah, that's it. That's also my personal take. Networking, in networking, some people are more like uh, broaden their overall network, and some people are trying to develop more like closer rapport, deeper rapports with smaller amount of people. And you have to make also the trade-off, because you cannot have a deep communication with, let's say, hundreds and hundreds of people, and that's also one trade-off to make. That's also my personal preference, and how my mind operates. What I think will be more natural for me as a person, and yeah.
Well, and so you've hit on a really good point, which is MBAs are very, very time consuming and you have to balance. There's a reason why during the interview process, they want to know if you have the ability to allocate time effectively and efficiently. It's because of what David's talking about. You are going to be pushed and you're going to want to do maybe 50 different things and you don't have the time in the day to do them all. Time management is key. It's critical in knowing what you want to approach prior to getting your MBA, or even though the first week or two, is going to save you a lot of headache and misery. So it sounds like David's figuring that out. So it sounds like you're having a great time over there. You want to tell us a little bit about Stanford's learning style? I know, for example, UVA and Harvard are very case based, almost famously so. Whereas the likes of Michigan is far more tailored towards participation and the communication, the back and forth group work. How would you describe Stanford's coursework?
So Stanford's style, let's say, differs a bit from Harvard's, which is mostly case oriented. We have many, let's say, also we have group works, we have case studies, but it's more, from a sense, it's also more like experimental. From one point, they are also very focused on creating close to real life experiences, including some playing different roles in the classroom. They even have like global experience requirements, where you learn by going to a different country, to attending different meetings. So they challenge you to have as closest to reality experiences on even academically. And they have different approaches. It's very packed with different activities. They push towards it. You have different, for example, I mentioned the global experience requirement. They give you different options. You can go, for example, for 1 week during spring break, and have the learning for 1 week in a different country, in different continent, where you have never spent much time. You can go for 4 weeks and work in the organization and learn by that. So that really showcases their approach. They want you to be put into different positions and to have that kind of experiences. And again, I do not discredit the case study method. We also have cases and case studies. It works, but here it's more mixed and let's say diverse in some sense.
And would you say that that plays to your strength as a student?
Sorry.
Would you say that plays to your strengths as a student, or would you have preferred maybe going strictly case study, or Do you feel that you fit in? I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, I don't know, like I would feel comfortable with both options. This way, it's more even fun. Like I really want to. I have also an option to take a subject, for example, and do the global experience requirement locally, for example. But I still want to go, let's say, work for 4 weeks at some foreign company, let's say, or go for 1 week to some country. And it's really, I mean, why wouldn't I want that? And different, we have again like different. Structures of the classrooms. We have group works, we have lead labs, we have role plays in the classrooms, and yeah, it's kind of. I wouldn't tell me that that's the main like decision making point for me. Like Stanford had many advantages that was more important for me than the structure of classes. But yeah, for sure, it's also one extra point. Yeah, their benefit.
Fair enough. How's the food?
The food.
Yeah.
Uh,
Are
but
you are you doing like on campus eating or are you going off campus?
no, it's very convenient. They really thought much about it, so we have many dining spots on campus. So if your goal is to save time on such things such as food or yeah regular things, everything is well planned. From our GSB campus, we have a cafe that's just right from 100 meters. If you just walk 300 meters, you have dining halls, and it's really convenient in terms of food quality. As a person who comes from Georgia, it's really hard to surprise me with anything, but I guess it's decent, and it's yeah, it's good, at least from what I hear from other people who
Hey,
have.
hey, hey, just because meatballs tend to walk off plates at other campuses doesn't mean that the American cuisine is suffering in any way, shape, or form.
No, I
We
didn't
call
say
that
that.
entertainment.
I,
Bang for
I,
your buck.
I never said that, but do not expect me to be all like but like it's really good. Again, they are really doing everything to be convenient for students. It's everything is well planned, so maximum comfort for students, so we can focus more on our productive things, studying, networking, job seeking, whatever. And they do everything, so the administration really does maximum, so that this whole process is shaped in a form that's most convenient for us.
I would hope from one of our elite MBA institutions that they can plan out a campus. Tone, do you have a favorite class? What's been the highlight so far of your experience?
Well, there are. I mean, I only started studying process in 3 weeks, so it's I had week 0 plus 3 weeks, so it's really. I don't have a large experience. I had only attended a limited amount of classes, but I there are so many things that I enjoy. We have classes even like organizational behavior, so many insights from psychological perspectives. I'm placing advanced classes for finance, for accounting, also for OIT, which is optimization, optimization basically. But I study in Python. That also puts me in outside my comfort zone. To I have no coding background, but like being a part of advanced group really makes me go outside that zone to study something new. And the thing that they have a class structure, so nobody becomes bored. If you have some experience in, let's say, accounting, they will not allocate you to a class that you have just to sit and just go through the materials that you already know. So they will give you something more challenging or new that you don't know, different approach. No, we don't even have a classical style textbooks at most of our advanced classes. We do not
Hmm.
read all of this. Yeah, like we have some except, but we do not go through the textbook at the whole. We have a different approach for yeah, and also the division of classes, so everyone feels challenged, find the classes challenging, exciting, and they are not bored, and they do not have to listen to the same thing that they already know. That's also a very interesting thing.
That does sound interesting. Not what I was expecting from that question, but nonetheless, good to know. Sort of my last topic here, and I think this is what a lot of people want to hear about, is your on-campus interviews and then the internship process, what has that been like? Because that tends to be the highlight. The reason why you go for an MBA is to get those connections through the school to put you in front of these programs, these alumni. What's your experience been? Has it been fun? Has it sucked? Have you been interviewing with some fascinating companies? Is it, for example, consulting? Is it at the beginning, maybe tech in the middle, and then I don't know, biotech at the end? I don't really know what the big three in terms of outside of consulting and tech are. But point being, walk us through that.
So at first, I want to disappoint you because the process hasn't started
Oh,
yet.
no. Never feel bad about disappointing
But
me. That's why I'm here.
one thing that I can assure anyone who is listening to this thing, if they come to Stanford, the career management centers that they have, so helpful. Like they will solve every problem that you might. They have so many. I mean, they are so open. They have resources. They will go, and they are very 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 welcoming to you. They will have several appointments if you need in-person appointments. They share with all the tips and resources. So that's the only experience that I have with CMC, and they are very helpful. But I have not really started the actual process yet. It's too early. Again, I it's not even a month. That it's a month, but if you include week zero, and yeah, probably I'm not the best person to answer the detailed questions. The only thing that I can tell you is that the resources here, the Korean Management Center, really performs top level.
Oh, and that's okay. Again, this is for you, or technically it's for audience, but this is your time to talk about what you've experienced so far. So happens. I get this. This actually goes to show just, I guess, how naive I am to Stanford's MBA program. Not that I'm going to Stanford, and not that I would ever have a chance, but just goes to show my lack of understanding for it. So, David, I'm kind of out of questions here. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to share about your experience? If so, now's the time. The floor is yours.
Well, if someone has from comment section some question to me, I can address that. Apart from it, I think we covered the main things that I was wanted to share with you, so I'm okay.
Okay, so let's take a look. So somebody asked practicing question. So this would be GMAT based. I don't know if we want to take those given the scope of the video, but choice is yours.
Yeah, like I covered many things in the first video. Someone asks about us to the academics or
Yeah, so somebody called the introverts. Can you describe your past academics? How important was it during your profile evaluation? Again, neither David nor I are consultants, but what I can say is this process, and David, feel free to add on to whatever I don't cover. The MBA program, unlike law school, for example, as someone who has been through that process, law school, they care about two numbers: your LSAT and your GPA. They don't give a rat's behind about anything else. That's 90% of it. The GMAT and the MBA in particular is very different. MBA programs do care about the GMAT score, your GRE score. They do care about your GPA, but they care so much more about your past experience, not even your academics. It's about what you've done and what you're projected to do and how you've worked. They want to see who you are. So it does have an impact. Sure, your GPA is always important. It's not going to hinder you if you have other strengths in your profile.
so. Yeah, and as a person who's on the younger side of the MBA, again, during application, I was 24. And my academics were solid. My GPA was the best in my school. Undergraduate, my GMAT score, you have the number. Uh,
99th percentile, folks.
yeah, and I don't know, like I cannot answer you how important it was in their decision making process. You should ask the admission staff who.
They won't answer you.
Yeah, but they have one rule when they give you. I think technically I can ask for my profile evaluation paper, and they probably I have a right. I don't remember exactly. Maybe I don't, but they give you some insights about your profile. But anyways, I don't know. Like, yeah, they are what I see. The people are from different backgrounds, different academics. We have many people again from with different results. So that's not only a decision making point for sure. And yeah, but good academics won't hurt probably if you have.
No.
Yeah.
By the way, I posted GMAT Club's profile evaluation tool. It's still what we would define as a beta. It's no guarantee of success, nor should it be considered quote unquote 100% accurate, but it will give you a ballpark idea of maybe schools you have a better chance at than others. So I would use that. Our weighting is again as close as we could get. Because schools won't tell you. They just won't. They don't want people to know. They want to be shrouded in mystery. Unlike GMAT Club, where we are as transparent as they come, when we are above board and honest and agenda free, schools are not so much. So just remember that. Your GMAT Club is your friend. Schools maybe not so much. But I really don't have anything else to add. So David, unless you want to say anything to close us out here, we can wrap up and have everybody be on their merry way on this really beautiful fall Saturday.
Yeah, also, I think we covered the main points. Also, the comment about your tool, I also used it and it was quite useful. At least for my case, it predicted my chances of admission properly.
Good
Uh,
for us.
yeah. Take consideration my age and post graduation work experience or whatever. Uh, so yeah, we covered most of the things. So I'm okay with this stream. We can end if you wish.
Awesome. And one last point. I'm an American. I can't pronounce names to save my life here. So, Mr. Hassan, I hope that's how you pronounce your last name. I'm not going to take a shot at your first. See the video that I posted about David in my first interaction, which again was about a year and a half ago, and he will give verbal tips in there. If anyone wants to reach out to David, I'm sure he wouldn't mind, as he gave his full name in this video. So
It's you can find me on LinkedIn. Probably, yeah. You won't find many people with this name who attend GSB, so it shouldn't be hard.
And there we have it. So, folks, thank you for joining me here today. I'll quickly remind all of you about the MBA fair. Do attend. It shows schools you care. Even if you attend for 5 minutes, you're going the extra mile. You're giving them another reason to check a box next to your name to say, yes, they did attend something outside of our services. So put your best foot forward if you do want to go. And one last shout out to those who are expecting decisions. I know Michigan releases interview decisions the week of the 17th, which is this Monday. I believe Duke and UVA for their early decision candidates will release on the 18th and the 19th. So to anybody watching this who will watch this in the future, who is going through that, best of luck to you. We at GMAT Club are here to support you in every way. But from myself, from David, and from the rest of our team, thank you so much, everybody. And we hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Bye.